This is Dr. Jeff Meldrum, and you're listening to the Paranormal Zone.
Look, I know the supernatural is something that isn't supposed to happen. It does happen. A ghostly apparition in the dark of night.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Hey there, fellow zoners and paranormal ponderers. You are in the Paranormally Zone, your weekly dose of all things, you guessed it, paranormal, strange, and mysterious. And we've got a great one lined up for you today. Part 1 of our chat with author of EERIE, Oklahoma, Heather Woodward. We were in the middle of a fantastic chat about all things paranormal when disaster struck and I had a total system failure. But alas, ladies and gentlemen, said lost audio was recovered, and we are now going to join this chat in progress. This is now going to be known as part 1 of our chat with psychic, medium, clairvoyant, channeler, and author of EERIE, Oklahoma, Miss Heather Woodward. This was a fantastic conversation. We cannot wait to have Heather return for part 2. Thanks again for tuning in, everybody. You can find Heather's book on Amazon. You can find Heather all over social media, and you can listen to her podcast, NVUS Alien Pod, wherever your favorite podcasts can be found. The ending of this chat may seem a bit abrupt, but no fear. Part 2 coming soon.
Yeah, I'm pretty open. I've been doing this shit for 20-something years, so I mean, I've run the gamut.
Yeah.
I've run the gamut, so
Yeah.
you can ask me anything. I'm like, whatever.
What I really loved on that list was using psychic powers for ghost hunting and things like that. That would be really,
Okay, sure.
yeah. Patrick and I both have some sensitivity. We feel things. For me, it's been it's something that I need to work on and develop and learn more about. But it's been in my family for generations, so I just want to carry that on. And I get feelings at places we go to investigate, and it's it's very interesting.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And feelings at home here, and have an interest. I've lived in a lot of interesting houses, so
That's amazing. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, it's all about Mike all the time. It's just Mike this, Mike that. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Of course.
I have a really I don't know how to explain it, but I'm psychic, but I am really techie too, and so people get really confused because I do carry my tech bag with me, so I would be like, okay, I feel something over here, and then I'll pull out the stuff, and people are like, wait, I thought you were psychic. I'm like, I am, but that doesn't mean that I'm not gonna totally disband a whole section of paranormal investigating just because I can feel things. I like to make sure that we're both on track. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So.
And that's the way Patrick and I think would do it if we added in as much psychic ability that we can. We would always fall back on technology.
Yeah.
I think that's a good formal way to kind of ease our way into the beginning of our chat here. I have been recording the whole time here, so I may or may not share some of that audio gold that we were just discussing.
Yeah, that's great.
Patrick likes to say we start sharing it right at the beginning because you don't know what gold we might find.
Exactly.
Which is very true.
So we are, this is a pleasure. We have the joy and the privilege of speaking with author Heather Woodward. Now, Heather, your book here, which, looky here, nice, beautiful book. I am looking forward to devouring this. I just received this the other day. Thank you so much. Not only are we going to talk about this, we have to talk about your book. But on your one sheet, on your website, you are also, aside from being an author, you are also described as a clairvoyant, channeler, psychic, and medium. Now, we have a pretty smart listening audience, and so chances are they all know all about clairvoyance, mediums, psychics, and so forth. But could you talk a little bit about maybe perhaps the differences between clairvoyance, being a psychic, being a medium, and a channeler?
Sure. God, that sounds so fancy when you say it.
Very impressive list.
I know. In my everyday life, it's just, the dishes. So it's funny when people say it. Okay, so there's different ways of being psychic. So we have a whole list, a whole gamut, because your psychic abilities are really based on your experiences. So some people are hearing, some people are seeing, some people are feeling, some people are touch based. It just depends on how you navigate through the world naturally. So I'm clairvoyant, which means I see things. So I see things in my head. Essentially, it's like movie theater. So when I go into a haunted location, or when I go anywhere really, and I'm turning on my psychic abilities, really, I see things. So I'll see things in front of me or in my mind's eye, or it'll be like just snippets of things too. It's never in order, which is really annoying. But it's just whatever the strongest energy is of the place. The psychic part is that I do get like knowing feelings where I'm like, oh, this is about to happen. But I don't really know what is going to happen. I just know something is going to happen. So that's the psychic part of it. Or I can go into a room and just feel the energy is off, or there's something weird about it that's just not normal. That's the psychic part. Channeling is a whole different ball game. Channeling is where you literally go into like a trance state, and then you willingly or consciously download information. So it's really hard to channel, and you how do I say it? You like psychic abilities, you can kind of just wander around and do what you need to do. Same with clairvoyance, because it just kind of happens. With channeling, you really have to like focus your energy. You have to get into a meditative state. You have to really like become in a comfortable place. There's more of a setup to it. And so when you're channeling too, you're usually channeling from a higher source, or some people channel from alien beings or whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter where you want to channel. So for instance, I have a dream machine behind me. You can see it right there in my pyramid. And so we use that for channeling, where you turn it on, go into the pyramid, you turn it on, you get entranced by the spinning light. And then the other day me and my friend were doing it to consciously learn about the future. So what do we need to know about the future? And then we recorded it. And then I kept saying, there's going to be an earthquake. There's going to be on a fault line. I don't know where it is, but there's going to be an earthquake. It feels like it's near water, so I'm going to say California. I was totally wrong. It was Turkey. But I knew there was going to be an earthquake, and I knew it's going to be on a fault line, and it was on a specific fault line. So that would be channeling, because I'm channeling the information. Whereas in the other locations, again, it's more using my senses. So, and again, the clairvoyance, I'm so strongly clairvoyant. I have dreams. A lot of dreams where I know pieces of it are real, and it's really weird because I'll have a normal dream where it doesn't make any sense, and there'll be one piece in it that just like, pay attention to this, and I'll wake up and I'll be like, okay, what the hell was that? What was that? That wasn't supposed to be there. And usually that's the stuff I write down, and then that's the stuff that usually comes true. I've had dreams where I'll write stuff down, and it'll be like a 2-year period where things just start to happen. And I'm like, okay, why? What was the point of that? There's no real point of it, but it does happen.
Now, do you find that dreams are a potential common source for, clairvoyant experiences for the everyday average person?
Absolutely. It's the easiest and fastest way to gain information. So this is for anybody. You don't have to be psychic for this. If you set your intention before you go to sleep that you want to know something, or you just want some sort of clairvoyant information, you can receive it, because that is when you're the most open, and you're kind of in I forget if it's delta, I think it's delta waves, but, and correct me if I'm wrong with that, but you're in a very meditative state when you go to sleep, especially right before you wake up, and right before you fall asleep, you're kind of in this interesting zone between the two worlds. And so if you really, really pay attention, if you can do it, you can set your attention at that time, and that will be quicker. The other thing that I do is I will listen to binaural beats before I go to bed. with a set intention, so I don't have to do the work. So more money, creativity, seeing the future, whatever it is.
Sure.
You can pick and choose, but I notice when I do that, it's a lot easier to come up with the information. But the good thing too is you always wake up, because everybody has a sleep cycle. Mine is 3 hours and 20 something minutes. But everybody has a natural sleep cycle. If you find out what your sleep cycle is, and then you're going to wake up in say 4 hours, have a pen and paper by you or a recorder, and then just jot down what you saw and then go back to sleep. And then you'll find that the things that you write down right when you wake up are usually the things that come true. Yeah, anybody can do that.
Mike's sleep cycle is 15 minutes.
Yeah. Are you talking about the Sally house?
Oh, yeah, that.
We're trying to
Sally.
sleep. Yeah, it was a great day. I was going to ask a question about this. Now, what I do a lot of times is when I go to lay down to sleep, I'll get comfortable and everything, and I will start like a meditation or just concentrating, and it'll usually start out with I can ask some questions, I can ask some little simple let me know what I need to know about a certain subject or whatever, or if I want to try and contact somebody that has passed over or anything. And I've had success with that, but I'll lay down and I'll close my eyes, start to concentrate and focus, and I'll start with different geometrical shapes and colors, just like spinning, and then through that I'll see faces come out, or images, or people that I don't know. I'm not getting answers to what I am trying to focus on, but I'm seeing these things. I'm seeing places, I'm seeing different events, and it's interesting. But then of course, I'm relaxing, and then I end in that sleep mode, and that's as far as I get. A lot of the times, I should say.
That makes perfect sense, and it's all mind garbage. They call it mind garbage. It's so I see pyramids. Instead of faces, I see pyramids. It's the same thing. It's we have to get through that layer. That layer is just your unconscious mind throwing shit at you. I hope we can cuss. I'm sorry.
Oh, absolutely.
Hell yeah.
You should hear Patrick sometime.
Okay, good.
No, I'm just kidding.
That's your subconscious mind just dumping. So it's like mind garbage. It's just stuff, or it's stuff in your peripheral. It's people that have been trying to contact you. It's because you're sensitive. People around you, it's their relatives going like, hey, we're here. So you have to get past that. And once you get past that phase, then that's where the gold happens.
Sure.
So
I used to be able to picture Patrick's father, and get at least an idea of his feelings or expressions, or if he's happy or not. But just lately, it's just been, it stops too soon. But a lot of stress, a lot of medical issues, like I said earlier. But I think maybe that's blocking some things. I just need to get through all of that and just get back down into maybe, focusing more. But
or you can just say, hey, I know this is the monkey mind working right now. You can literally say it out loud or in your head. I know this is the monkey mind right now. Let's move this away. Let's see what's really underneath this. Sure. Just having the conscious awareness of it sometimes just will move that energy away. Mm-hmm. So you don't actually have to perceive it.
Right. Perfect.
Yeah.
Now, Heather, there is a reason why, like at the beginning of each episode when I'm doing the intro, I'll always introduce Mike as my co-host with the ghosts, the paranormal poster boy, and we go on from there. There's a reason that I describe him like that, because he has, as he mentioned briefly, he has led essentially a very, air quotes, haunted life ever since he was a young kid. Do you believe that some people are more susceptible to experiencing the paranormal, more capable of experiencing the paranormal, and in the same breath, more capable of utilizing their psychic abilities?
Yes, absolutely. And this is why. And it has nothing to do with what we think. It's not because we have gifts. I hate when people say that. They're like, oh, I'm so gifted. I'm like, no, you're not, bitch. There are there are predispositions for psychic abilities. And it just has to do with your experience in life. One, if we have a lot of trauma in our life, if we have in our background, if we have a lot of trauma where we've had to be hypervigilant, we're going to have higher psychic abilities, because we learned at a very young age that we have to gauge the way people feel, the way people are acting. We have to watch out for our safety. And so we learn how to use our psychic senses. A lot of people who are in those situations are either clairvoyant, or they have presentiment, which means that they can foretell the future. Or they're really empathic, because they have to feel people's feelings in order to survive. So that's one thing. The other thing that is really, really interesting about psychic abilities, especially, is that belief is like 90% of psychic abilities. There's like a ton of studies. There's one that the Schmiedler. Have you heard of the Schmiedler study? 1940s is when it started, and they keep redoing it. It's called the sheep and goat effect, which basically means that, well, they did this. Okay, so they did a study. Half were sheep, half were goats. The sheep did not believe, the goats did. They did testing. Oh, I love dogs. I have some. Okay, so it's fine. But
Mike's dogs are gigantic too. So
I know. So we have sheep and goats, right? So the goats believe, the sheep do not. They take tests. They take a battery test. Those who believed scored like, I think it's 90% or like something like that, some ridiculous amount. They scored way higher, like 90, 100% higher. The people that did not believe did not do well on the test, because they set it up that way. Because they did not believe, they did not experience. And so this is with anything in his life. Like, they've done this for like psychological tests too, or like people with depression, people without depression. I mean, they've done this study so many times. But basically, if you believe there's going to be an experience, you will have it. If you go in skeptical and you don't believe, you're not going to have the experience. And I've done this with, oh my goodness, so many investigators. I love investigating with skeptics. It's so fun, because I'll have all the experiences and they'll be like, nothing happens to me. I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell you. I'm going to go over here and have fun. You can sit here and be mean. I don't care. But it's not about being gifted. It's about being open. It's about believing, and it's about your background. So, now the other thing too is, like, so for instance, I'll just use myself as an example, but my family is really open to psychic experiences. So we've always lived in haunted houses. You know, my dad took me Bigfoot hunting when I was a kid. We always talked about UFOs. So
that's my family exactly.
Yeah.
My dad and I, the relationship we had ever since I can remember. So I know what you mean.
So when you have those kinds of things always in your environment, you tend to think that's normal. And so you predict to have those experiences because that's normal to you. So of course you're going to be into ghost hunting. Of course you're going to be more psychic. Of course you're going to have dreams, right? Because that's your reality.
That's really interesting, Mike. I want you to. I'm sure Mike knows where I'm going with this.
I think so.
So instead of me repeating myself over and over and over again, Mike, take it away as comparing like you and me when it comes to our paranormal experiences.
Well, Patrick and I are both very open-minded. Patrick's open-minded, and he always professes to be totally open-minded, which I believe him. But
not professes, I am.
Yes, he is. But we have been in a lot of different situations of ghost hunting and in some very interesting evidence that we've gotten, but it takes very little for Patrick to just throw it out of his mind like, I don't think so. You know, it's like he can see something that, to me, it's like, Patrick, are you not thinking that that's paranormal? Yeah, but, you know, and that always comes up with him. And it's like, but so open-minded, so much believes, but there's still something that just, it just won't
what
click
is
in his head.
blocking me, Heather? What is blocking me? Because, you know, I want to experience something, you know, I want to, you know, we always say on the show, I need that proverbial, slap in the face, from an invisible force. Of course, I don't want that to happen, but
I told him I'm going to die first, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come and slap you in the face.
Exactly. And I'm like, I'll be waiting for it. But is there something maybe subconsciously about me that is not allowing me to experience the same stuff that Mike experiences? We're at the same places, like Mike mentioned earlier. We were just not that long ago at the Sally House, and that was a blast. We stayed the night there and had some
Coming
interesting.
up next, the Velisca House.
Yeah, the Velisca House is up next.
So I'm going to double back around. I promise to answer the question, but I need to put a pin on the Sally House because my friend, speaking of dreams, this is all like coming together right now. I'm having one of those moments.
Yeah.
My friend dreamt about the Sally House. We were talking about the Sally House, and now we're talking about dreams of the Sally House.
Right.
So there's something about that, but let's get back to that. But to answer your question, it's probably something in your personality where, so I don't know about your background, but are you generally a task-oriented person?
Yes.
And are you very like grounded in like this has to happen, and this has to happen?
Perfectionist type?
Yeah, I would. I wish I wasn't as much of a perfectionist as. I mean, I'm far from it, obviously. But if something is not out of line, or if something is out of line, I'm like,
Okay.
Yeah, my fiance Bridget, I drive her nuts because I have a little bit of OCD, I think.
Don't ever drive with Patrick.
Don't. Hey, come on.
If you're driving, it's bad because anything you do, he's thinking you're going to have an accident. And if he's driving, he only goes like 50 in a 75.
You're exaggerating. He's exaggerating. So
60 then. 60.
Okay, I'll go with that.
Are you an Earth sign by any chance?
I'm a Cancer.
Oh, Cancer. Okay. Oh, that. All right. Yeah,
and Mike did mention earlier, and not to make this all about us. We're
right.
It's totally fine.
It's really hitting my head there.
Just so our listeners, people who are tuning in for the first time, when Mike mentioned my dad earlier, and Mike said he tried to reach and contact him. Yeah, my dad did pass away many years ago when I was 8 years old, and so that was like a pretty profound event in my life, obviously. And I've always been open-minded. I've always wanted to believe in ghosts. I do believe in ghosts. I remember my grandpa telling me awesome ghost stories when I was a kid, and I was just fascinated by them. And I'm still waiting for that experience. But, Mike and I have experienced stuff that is indisputable, and we have it on audio. And to me, that's proof. But I still have that something up there. Something up there is just like, I want something more.
I'll tell you why. It's because I was asking you if you're task oriented and if you're like OCD is totally, if you're type A personality, it's harder to believe. What I'm getting intuitively from that's why I was asking the question is that because you have a certain procedure about doing things, when it doesn't happen the way that you need it to happen, you automatically shut off. So, and that's the thing with paranormal activity, it never happens on a schedule. Never. Even if you have a residual haunting, it never happens on a schedule. It'll happen on the same day, Thursday, but sometimes it'll happen at 2:30 and sometimes it'll happen at 3. You can kind of gauge it and be like, okay, around this time. But it's never on clockwork. And so I think for you, because you have to do things A, B, C, D, when you have an expectation of what needs to happen, even if it's unconscious, if it doesn't happen that way, therefore it doesn't exist.
Hey,
so what you're saying is Patrick actually needs a therapist, most likely. No,
I don't know Patrick that well.
No, he doesn't.
It's letting go of some of the. I'm going to use this word, but it's letting go of some of the control. It's letting go of some. And if you are a water sign, so you should be able to kind of merge into the ether. But I am wagering from what you said just now, you don't do a lot of that. You're like, feelings are let's just keep to the logic stuff because I can control that. And so it's really moving into those murky emotional waters and being okay being in that place. So when the experience, because you have to remember that paranormal activity is part of the human experience. It's not logical. We all run on feeling. We all run on experience. And so in order to meet the paranormal halfway, you have to be in that space of human experience. And that means moving straight into your feelings. It means moving into energies, the subtle energies of our body and that kind of stuff. And so it's really just turning off the brain, which I know is really, really hard. It's really hard. And so I think that's what's happening with you is you're leaping and going, oh, that can't happen that way. It's not logical, so therefore it can't happen. When if you were to turn that part of your brain off, you know what you need to do is you need to stimulate your mind while you're doing paranormal investigating. I would put on headphones while you're investigating and do some low frequency like white noise or brown noise or pink noise while you're investigating to keep your mind, your monkey mind going. And then that way you can experience things in a completely different way.
Patrick, we have that small white box, and it's an old piece of equipment that we bought years ago, but that's all it does is generate white noise. And it's supposed to be able to pick, it has a very tiny speaker, external speaker that's supposed to pick up maybe some EVPs or things like that. But it is a constant white noise that we could utilize that easy.
Try it out. I know when I have to meditate, like when I really have to meditate, I can't do it. I have too much of a monkey mind. I'm like blah 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 blah. But
it's life.
Yeah, if I turn on white noise, if I turn on binaural beats or something low frequency, all of a sudden I get it right into a meditative state because I'm like, okay, my brain is happy now. Now I can actually do what I need to do. And so I have a feeling if you were to try that, you would have a whole different experience investigating.
That's pretty cool.
Also,
that makes sense. I like that.
Yeah.
Try Estes.
Try what?
Estes, the Estes method.
Explain.
Okay, so the Estes method is okay, so it's on Kindred Spirits a lot, and it's the Hellier people invented it. But basically, you take a spirit box and you connect it to a pair of headphones that are noise canceling, and then you put on a mask.
Sleep. Okay. Yeah, we've done that. The deprivation.
Okay. I didn't know that.
What we call it.
I'm sorry, I talked over my mic. So it's kind of like is it kind of like a sensory deprivation technique then? Okay, gotcha.
But I've seen Amy and Adam do that, and we have done that. Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. You have somebody else ask you the questions. You don't, but it's the same technique where you're listening to the spirit box, and there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise, and so it'll keep you busy. So that way you can actually hear what's going here. I'm using air quotes, bunny ears here, but hear what's going on. I bet you would do great at it because everybody I know who has monkey mind who does it is like, oh wow, I'm totally experiencing things right now. And I'm like, yeah, it's because you're busy. Your mind chatter is busy with the so you can actually see what's going on. Now you can take off the mask. You don't have to be. If you want to see things, you just want to hear the box. That would be great. It's just something to keep you busy. But I bet you if you were to do the Estes and then have Mike ask you questions, I bet you're probably like way psychic, like off the hook. You don't even know it.
Well, gosh, Mike. We did, like I said, experiment with the self-deprivation at the Sally House. That was the first time that we have done that. And, we had some really interesting results on Mike's end for sure. I thought that, again, perfect example. I did it later on when Mike was asking questions, and and of course I'm just negative about what I was saying. I thought I was trying too hard to hear things. I wanted something to come through so bad. So whatever did come through, I was like, did I just kind of imagine that, or did I actually hear that? So
no, you heard it. You heard it, and that's the thing. And you don't even have to hear it. A lot of times when you put on the headphones, you don't have to hear it. Yeah. It might not be actually going on in the spirit box. It's whatever's going on in your head.
Yeah.
There are some stupid things that I've said in Estes. I record them all and I'm all like, what the hell am I saying right now? This is fucking stupid. But then 6 months later, I go back and like, oh my God, that totally makes sense now.
Yeah.
And it's the dumbest stuff. It's the dumbest stuff. And you just have to be willing to be okay with being wrong. And being okay with being stupid, it's one of the things I learned really quickly with so I do tarot readings for a living. That's what I and so, so I do tarot readings for a living. That's what I and so, so I do tarot readings for a living. That's what I do tarot readings for a living. That's what I do tarot readings for a living. That's what I do tarot readings for a living. That's what I do tarot readings for a living. That's what I do tarot readings for a living. That's what I do tarot readings for a living. That's what I do tarot readings for a living. That's what I do tarot readings for a living. That's what I do tarot readings for a living. That's what I do tarot readings for a living. That's what I do tarot readings for a living. That's what I do tarot readings for a living. That's what I do tarot readings for a living. That's what I do tarot readings for a living. That's what I do tarot readings for a living. That's what I do tarot readings for a living. That's what I do tarot readings for a living. That's what I do tarot readings for a living. That's what I do tarot readings for a living. That's what I do tarot readings for a living. That's what I do tarot readings for a living. That's what I do tarot readings for a living. That's what sometimes I'll pull cards for people, or sometimes I don't use cards, and I'll be talking to somebody, and I'll just be like, I have this stupid word in my head, and I'll just say it out loud, and it means so much to them, and to me it means nothing. Like crayon, I'm like, why am I seeing crayons? They're like, oh my god, and they're crying, and I'm like, oh my god, I just said crayon. I don't know what's like, yeah. But it's because you just have to kind of be okay with being wrong. Sometimes I'm completely off, and I'm like, whoa, I totally misread that. I knew what they were trying to tell me, and it meant this whole other thing, but I couldn't see it because of my own perception of the thing and my own experience. Like I said before, on the very beginning of this interview, I was saying I saw a fault line, I saw the earthquake, and I saw water. So I automatically assumed it was California, but it wasn't. It was Turkey, which is it's surrounded by water. So, because I used to live in California, so my experience went there, and I've been through a ton of earthquakes. So of course I go there. Right. So, but that's not the right answer. If I had just stuck to earthquake, fault line, water, which is the three things I actually got, and didn't put my own perception on it and my own experience on it, I would have gotten the right answer. So again, it doesn't matter how much you do this, you're always going to insert your own experience in it.
Now, is this something that you've experienced like your whole life since you were a child too, or did you kind of have to mature into these? I know you don't like use the word gift. You mature into these abilities. Was there any particular event that happened to you that kind of led you down this road, or was it more gradual?
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's such a loaded question because I'm not sure.
I'm good at loaded questions. Sorry.
No, it's totally fine. It's totally fine. My brain is going.
He does it to me all the time.
So okay, so there's kind of two things that happen. Like, so my childhood is not very good, and so I had to be really hypervigilant in order to survive. So I know that like 90% of my abilities are just trauma responses. Like, let's just be honest. And as I've gone through therapy and stuff, I realized that, and I'm like, oh my god, okay, so like, what is actually me and what are actually my abilities? Because like, let's parse this out a little bit. But I think even if I were to have the childhood that I had, even if I didn't have that, I probably would have been into this. It's just part of like my nature. But okay, so when I was 14. This may or may not have happened, and this is why I don't like talking about it, because I actually don't have a recollection of it. I mean, I have a certain recollection of it, but I don't have like a full-on recollection of it. I've actually done like regressions to see if maybe I could figure it out, and there's just parts of it that don't make sense to me. My friend who was with me swears it happened, but so I lived below a hill where Boeing used to do experiments for NASA. There was a nuclear reactor there that they used for years and years and didn't tell anybody. And then it melted and it went into the groundwater.
Oh gosh.
And it was really secret, and now there's a cancer cluster there. So I didn't know all this stuff was going on, and there's a preface to I'm prefacing this to let you know what's going on. So we used to go up to the hill all the time, not knowing all this shit was happening up on top of this hill, and we used to smoke up there and drink up there because it was near my house and it was out in the middle of the woods, right? So we're like thinking, cool. Well, this one time we were up there, me and my boyfriend, who's still one of my very good friends. Like I was 14 at the time, but like we're like super good friends now, and we saw a light in the sky, a round light, and it was moving really, really fast. And I remember the light and going, what the hell is that? That is not a helicopter. That is not an airplane. It's something, though. So he's like, let's follow the light. And I'm like, okay. So we went down this hill, because you have to go up the hill to get to the Boeing area. We go down the hill. We're following the light, and we stop. And we watch the light. And we're sitting on top of his car going, what the hell is that? Now, according to him, we got abducted. According to him. And I'm like, I don't remember that part.
Whoa,
he's like,
really?
Yeah, we lost a bunch of time. And I'm like, well, now that you say that, I don't remember going back down the hill. I remember being home.
That's interesting.
You were given cover memories
So
or something like that. Yeah, they're covering up.
There's a big gap between watching the ball of light in front of us and me getting home. I remember being home. I remember leaving the car. I remember walking into the house, but I can't for the life remember getting back down the hill.
That's a very classic alien abduction
Oh,
scenario.
really? Okay.
Well, not that one remembers and one doesn't. That's not you don't hear that very much, but one can remember better than the other, I think. But yeah, that missing time in that, it just, everything that I've read, and I've been into UFOs as much as ghosts for as long as I can remember, and that's just a very classic.
Mike was in the Air Force too, so he knows military secrets.
Well, I don't know the great secrets that I wish I knew, but 10 years active duty Air Force, but I had seen 3 orange lights in the shape of a triangle go from one end of the horizon to the other. It was like 2:00 in the morning, and I can't explain it, but it sure was exciting. I loved it, and I know I saw it.
Well, the reason why I bring that up is because there's this whole other story with that, because he swears and he used to dream about being abducted all the time and stuff. And it's weird because I used to have dreams about. So I saw that movie Communion, and I read the book, and oh my god, that movie
perfect,
scared the shit out of me so hard. And the idea of being taken kind of ruled my life for a little while, where I'd wake up at 3 a.m. panicking because I thought somebody was at my door or in my room. Yeah. So
could those have been fears coming out of what really might have happened?
I think so. Because he would have dreams about it, and he'd be like, this is what happened. I'd be like, okay, great. Awesome. I don't believe you, but cool. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because 14 is about the time that I started playing with Ouija boards, about the time I picked up tarot cards. All of a sudden, I was really into the paranormal, like hard. All of a sudden, I was really into being psychic. I went to a creative school where I could do any kind of art project I wanted. And so I found an old glass mirror, and I'm like, I want to make a Ouija board. I want to etch it. And my teacher was like, go ahead. You can do whatever you want. I'm not going to look. And I'm like, fine. And so I turned it into a tabletop. So I don't know what happened. I don't know if it happened or not, but I just know from that point on, things got really, like, my personality shifted, where all of a sudden I wanted to do all these paranormal things. I wanted to, that kind of encapsulated my life all of a sudden.
That's okay. That's pretty.
You were just accepted into the paranormal family at that time, and let's experience what we can.
Yeah. So it's weird too, because my friend was saying, he's like, don't you remember you wanted to be a journalist, you wanted to write, those were the things that you wanted to do. And I'm like, yeah, I did, and I did a lot of that, but it wasn't as important as some of these other things that just felt like I needed to do them. And then when I was in my early 20s, I started meeting people that like taught me how to read tarot, taught me how to be more psychic. Like all of a sudden, all these weird events started happening where now looking back on it, I can see what it was. In the time I was really confused. Like, why do I keep meeting people that are like hitting past lives, that are teaching me things about magic, that are teaching me things about portals and things like that. And then now looking back at it, I'm like, oh yeah, that was all just like, here, take this ability, here, do that, here, do that, here, do that. So I was kind of prepped, I guess.
It's like
in a weird way. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm cutting in on you.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
It's like the beginning of your journey, and you've just continued forward since then. It's like, do you know what I mean? Is that how? Yeah. So, and then it's just been game on ever since.
Yeah.
Has it? Or
yeah, I mean, I've surpassed all my teachers essentially. Yeah. And it's that's pretty much how it works. Now, does it help me in my everyday life? No. Absolutely not. Is it an expensive hobby? Absolutely.
Unfortunately, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Heather, I don't know how much time if you can hang out for another 15 minutes or so. I don't know.
However long you want. It's fine. We can talk forever if you want.
Oh, I know. We could. Trust me. We could. There's so much stuff I want to get to here. First, your podcast. Obviously, you have an interest and a passion in aliens, extraterrestrial life, UFOs, UAP, what have you. One of the things I did write down on my very professional notes here, I want your thoughts on what the heck is going on lately in the world with all of these balloons being shot down and whatever you want to call them. I mean, I don't think anything nefarious is going on, but your thoughts on all of this.
Oh my goodness. I wrote something on Twitter the other day. I said the government is like when it comes to disclosure, the government is like the abusive father we never wanted. The gaslighting is crazy. It's like, it didn't happen. It doesn't exist. You didn't see it. It's a balloon. It's like, those are like, that's pretty much it. I think something's going on. I don't think people are like, oh my God, this is disclosure. I don't think we'll ever get disclosure. People are like, it's the end of the world. I don't think that either. I think that they're testing us to see what we'll do. I think some of it's espionage. Honestly, I think it's China. I think it's Russia. Sure. The one in Alaska that got shot, I'm like, Russia, right? But they can't say Russia because it's the whole thing. Yeah. And China's fine. Like, China can be spying on us, that's fine. But if Russia's spying on us, that's a whole thing. So I think some of it's espionage, but then I think some of it is just, I mean, a lot of people are saying it's, what is that, Blue Beam?
Sure.
Project Blue. I don't think it's that either. They wouldn't be so obvious about it if it was that. I honestly think it's just, well, let's see what people do if we put this stuff out there. Let's see what happens if.
Yeah.
Let's see people, like, let's just do a test and see.
Right. That was my kind of vibe about it. Like you mentioned earlier, it's too obvious to be like it's, they're not very subtle. We'll put it that way. So it seems a little bit too out there. But I mean, I don't know. I'm just a guy who hosts a podcast, so I have no idea.
Yeah, but we have the pulse on so this is what I love about doing a podcast and being boots on the ground. We have the pulse on what's actually going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're doing the research. We're the ones that are talking to people doing the research. I mean, I had a total dream scroll on TikTok the other day, just watching all of the footage that people filmed and talked about.
Yeah.
Because I was like, okay, this is really interesting information. But go ahead, Mike. Sorry. I keep cutting in. Go ahead.
Oh, no. No, go ahead. I was...
Mike's used to it. He was... You caught him daydreaming.
If I look like I'm trying to say something to do something, I was just listening to my dogs and knowing if I...
Oh, yeah, that's right. Like I said, he has two massive dogs that like to pipe in every now and then. They've been pretty good today, though, Mike. They've been very, very good.
Got a Great Pyrenees and a German Shepherd, and they love each other and they love to play.
I think sometimes, too, we have clusters of things happening. Like, if you ever read Mothman Prophecies during that time period, there were a lot of UFO sightings. There were a lot of things happening around the world, tsunamis. There were a lot of, like, the bridge collapse. Like, there was all these little things that kept happening. And there was a lot of stuff with MIBs and people, the injured cold thing, like people seeing these weird people. I kind of feel that we're having another one of those times where, like, there's change going to happen, and during those, right before those changes happen, we do have this like cluster of weird phenomenon.
No, that makes sense. That was a good comparison there with the Mothman story. All the
and those could be things that go back centuries of like these things happening, and historically, and it's just continues on. Yeah.
Heather, can you? Another thing that I wrote down, again, on my extremely professional notes here. I'm shaking them right there.
Well, show her your notes. Show how it.
Well, no, because only I can read them right now. Only I can read these things.
That's how I do notes, too.
Yeah. I swear to God, I'm not even writing English. I have good handwriting, but when I take down notes for an interview, I'm like, what? What is this? What I did write down here is something that you had implied or maybe perhaps suggested, are some of the most common misconceptions about psychics and psychic ability. Take it away. I'm fascinated to hear your thoughts on that.
I have a whole PowerPoint presentation on that, like literally. Okay,